Hello and welcome. It's great to have you here. Have you ever noticed that some really smart people have, well, kind of strange habits? Maybe they stay up super late or they seem perfectly happy being alone. Today, we're going to look at a really interesting idea from psychology that helps explain why. It's a fun little mystery, so let's get started. So first, a quick question for you. Just think about it for a second. When you imagine a very intelligent person, do you picture them waking up early, or do you see them working late into the night? What do you think? Do they sleep more or less? Okay, and one more question. What about friends? Do you think very smart people have lots and lots of friends, or just a few really close ones? Keep your answers in your head because the real answer, based on some psychological research, might actually surprise you. So, how can we answer these questions? Well, the key to this whole puzzle is a really interesting idea from the world of psychology. It's a concept that helps us understand why we humans do the things we do in our modern world. And it's called the Savannah idea, or the Savannah principle. So what is it? Well, the idea is actually pretty simple. It says that our human brains are old. They're running on very old software. Our brains were designed to solve problems in the world of our ancestors, thousands and thousands of years ago, not for the world of smartphones and big cities we live in today. Let's just look at how different things are. In the ancient world, our brains were focused on basic survival, right? Finding food, staying safe from dangerous animals, and living in small family groups. But our modern world? Wow. It's full of things like stock markets, social media, and giant cities with millions of people. Our old brain wasn't built for all of this, and sometimes it gets a little confused. Okay, so this is where intelligence comes in. According to this idea, our general intelligence, what we measure with IQ tests, it has a very special job. Its job isn't to solve those old, ancient problems. We have our instincts for that. Instead, intelligence is our special tool for dealing with new problems, things that our ancestors never, ever had to think about. So, if intelligence is our tool for new things, it kind of makes sense that more intelligent people might be more interested in new ways of living, right? Let's see if this helps us answer our first question, the one about sleep. Think about it. For our ancestors, the night was dark and maybe a little scary. So going to sleep when the sun went down was the normal, natural thing to do. Staying up late at night using electric lights, that is a totally new human behavior. And guess what? Some research suggests a connection here. One study found that people with higher IQs tend to go to bed later and wake up later. They are, in a way, night owls. And this idea doesn't just stop with sleep. It seems to apply to a lot of other things, too. If you look at this list, all of these are things that are pretty new in human history. And, interestingly, studies in psychology have found that higher intelligence is often linked to being more open to these kinds of new ideas and preferences. Okay, so smart people might be better at new problems. But what about the other side of things? What happens when very intelligent people have to deal with those old, ancient problems? Like making friends or finding a partner. This is where the idea gets really, really interesting. Well, it seems that being very smart can sometimes make those simple, natural parts of life a little harder. The things like making friends or dating, we have our feelings and our instincts to guide us. But sometimes highly intelligent people might think too much. They try to use logic for a situation where maybe common sense or just a gut feeling would work better. In fact, one professor has a great name for this. He calls it the clever Sillies phenomenon. It's the idea that sometimes people can be so clever that they end up believing or doing silly things that a person with normal common sense would never do. It's like they're almost too clever for their own good. Here's a little analogy that might help. Think about a peacock. It has that giant, colorful, beautiful tail. But that tail is also really heavy, and it makes it hard to fly away from danger. So why have it? Well, it's to show off. It shows other peacocks how strong and healthy it is. In a similar way, some very intelligent people might be attracted to very complex and difficult ideas. Not because the ideas are correct, but because understanding them shows off how smart they are. A simple, correct answer just isn't as impressive. So let's put all the clues together. We have our ancient brain. We have intelligence as a tool for new things, and we have this clever fool effect for old things. It's time to solve our little mystery about smart people. It really just boils down to these three simple steps. Number one, the human brain is ancient, built for a world that's long gone. Number two, intelligence is our special tool for dealing with the new and unfamiliar problems of the modern world. And number three, this combination explains why smart people might be drawn to new behaviors, but also why they might overthink and struggle with those basic common sense parts of being human. So, the main takeaway here isn't that being smart is good or bad, or that common sense is better than intelligence. It's just about understanding that high intelligence is a different way of thinking. It's a style of thinking that can be incredibly useful for our new world, but it can also be a little out of sync with our ancient human nature sometimes. And so I'll leave you with one last question to think about. For living a happy life in our world today, which do you think is more important? Is it that ancient wisdom we call common sense? Or is it the power of high intelligence? It's an interesting thing to consider. Thanks so much for learning with me today.